Welcome into Woodbine Live. It is our Path to the Plate series. JD Fox with you. We've got Chase, Jessica, Ellis, Ren. We'll have Dawn Lupul checking in from Woodbine shortly. This wasn't on what we had planned to cover, but race 6 here, we've got a major chance for somebody to have a six-figure score here as the pick 5 closes in this sequence, and it has been chaotic, to say the least, on the tote board to start at Woodbine. So we're going to show you the 6th race and get the call from Robert Geller, and then we'll talk about the plate trial, the Woodbine Oaks, and everything that we want to talk about today. But thanks for joining us here on America's Best Racing and on Woodbine social media. We'll kick it off to the 6th race here from Woodbine.
Side onto the gate. So another attempt with horse 9, Enjoy the Silent. Almost right. Just pulling back again. Number 9, Enjoy the Silent. A starter, Ian Ross, goes to the front of the gate to see if the gate needs to be opened. They're almost okay, though. Enjoy the Silent. 3/4 now fully into the gate. The last 3, Trejo, Sanyani, and last along, British Artillery. As British Artillery is a little defiant. By English Channel, should enjoy the turf. They're almost right. Going in now. Stand by for a start. Not quite there. British Artillery. Moving in. Stud looks across. They're off. And back to the tail end. Very clearly last, Curlin's Ghost. One of the best into stride is Awesome Bourbon. And going for the early lead in the center as they settle into stride. 1 for Chap with Uncaptured Moment on the inside. They're the top trio. British Artillery's on the pace on the extreme outside, and coming forward nicely is Candy Street, and handy is Venti right behind the leaders. And then about mid-pack, Trejo around the outside of Jadoro, and towards the rail is Prince of Ayrshire, well back early Sanyani, and going up on the inside, Enjoy the Silent. At last is Curlin's Ghost, about 10 off the lead. Racing in front, 1 for Chap's gone out in the lead from Awesome Bourbon. 1 for Chap, about a half. Awesome Bourbon second, they've got away. A length and 3/4, British Artillery. Venti's had a good run. Uncaptured Moment, the inside. Candy Street next from Jadoro. Running home is Enjoy the Silent. Well behind them, Curlin's Ghost, but has some momentum and goes to the outside. But racing clear, 1 for Chap. Top of the home stretch, a 1/4 mile to run. 1 for Chap from Awesome Bourbon, running a mighty big race. Awesome Bourbon coming at 1 for Chap. Venti on the inside. British Artillery behind them. Curlin's Ghost is still running on. It's 1 for Chap trying to deal with Awesome Bourbon. And Venti on the inside. Drifting right off a line. 1 for Chap. Venti on the inside. Awesome Bourbon the outer. 1 for Chap. 1 for Chap goes away to win by a length. Close for second. Out wide, Awesome Bourbon are on the rails. Venti, and then came British Artillery from Curlin's Ghost. 1:16:37.
All right, so excitement as we have a single ticket that will take down the entirety of the pick 5 pool and pay one lucky person out there $150,140.79 for a 20-cent base pick 5. And that is what can happen with full fields at Woodbine.
Yeah. And as far my pick, I would love to see the head-on of that. The 3 was a first-time starter. Really, oh, here's the head-on. I want to see the break here because he broke last. I mean, I'm not saying it would have made a difference in terms of the win, but oh, okay.
Yeah, you got a little caught up there.
Yeah.
Brush the gate.
Yeah, brush the gate.
Yeah, obviously, at town was. For a minute, I got a little excited, but it's such a big field, hard to navigate. But I mean, finally, a price that kind of made sense, like a horse that made sense, with the 7 winning at 7-2.
First,
really
that's the first favorite in the sequence.
Yeah.
That was actually the favorite, the betting favorite at 7-2.
Thanks for joining us today, JD Fox, Chase Sessoms, Jessica Paquette. Ren Carothers, Ellis, Starr, to take you through the next three races at Woodbine. We have the Plate Trial Stakes coming up, which will be race number 7. We have a allowance event featuring last year's Prince of Wales Stakes winner Hadassah in race number 8, and then race number 9, the Woodbine Oaks. So 3 exciting races today here on America's Best Racing, and obviously excitement there in race 6, but what we're really here for is the Plate Trial Series as we head to Queen's Plate coming up less than a month away, August 21st at Woodbine, and we have an interesting field, to say the least. I think this is a very open affair, and I think there's a lot of directions you can go. Who wants to kick off and start talking about the pace scenario here in the Plate Trial Stakes?
I'll leave that to Ellis.
Well, okay, thank you. It is interesting. You figure that the horses on the inside will use their position, and Guard of Honor, starting with the rail, did press the pace in his maiden runner-up finish to Hill of Dreams in the race, Hall of Dreams, I should say, who closed faster and outfinished Guard of Honor, who led in the stretch. But I figure that Emma Wilson, who's taking over for Hernandez, is going to be the one putting the horse on the lead. After that, it's kind of tough because when you look, the only horse stretching out, of course, is the Minkster coming out of the 7 furlong, and Sir for sure, but the Minkster with the better tactical speed coming out of the maiden 7 furlong, the Queenston, I should say, is probably going to go with. So I think those two are the pace setters. Cause and Mayhem did run fast at Belmont in the mud. I would think that they're looking at the pace scenario and they may want to take back. So it's going to be one of those 3 probably on the lead. I don't expect the pace to be that much faster than average.
And when it comes to the Minkster stretching out, we'll actually look back at the Minkster's last performance here, going 7 furlongs in the Queenston.
The Minkster's in front. Ironstone looking for room on the inside. His time. Duke of Love the outer. Down the outside is Ron Dewar starting a run. The Minkster's got the lead. And down the outside, Ron Dewar battling away Ironstone and Duke of Love. The Minkster in front. Ironstone coming on. And down the outside, Ron Dewar. It's still the Minkster. Now Ironstone pushing on with Ron Dewar. The Minkster down to the wire. And the Minkster's in a photo from Ron Dewar out wide, and also Ironstone. A 3-way battle to the wire with Duke of Love.
And Duke of Love, another contender in this race, finished 4th on that day. That was the Minkster's debut in 2022, back on June 12th, and we have not seen the Minkster run since. A couple works and a couple interesting works. When you look at the tab and see a 5 furlong work, followed by a 6 furlong work, followed by a 5 furlong work, really what you see here is Daniel Vella really trying to get this horse ready to stretch back out.
Well, he certainly has the pedigree for it. That's clear. I mean, he's by English Channel out of a flatter mare. I personally, though, I'm going to look for a little bit of an upset, if you don't mind, if I can get that out of the way with Dance in Denial. This is a horse who's coming out of a race facing older horses, and I thought he made a fine accounting of himself, needed the race. There's no reason he can't switch surfaces and show that same type of improvement that he did going from his 2-year-old season to his 3-year-old season. And I mean, you also have just a really deep family. You actually have a Plate Trial winner in that family with Dancing with Ravens, Dance with Ravens. But yeah, I really like this horse a lot. If you look at some of the horses who were in that last out race, the winner there, 4-year-old who had been imported, he had run second in a Group 3 at the Curragh. Shangasa, 5-year-old who was in that race, next put up an 84 buyer running second to Conglomerate. The 4th placed runner in there was Money Printer. He's a 4-year-old. He was a next out winner by 4 3/4 lengths, put up an 85 buyer figure. So I just think this is a horse who makes a lot of sense going back against 3-year-olds. So we'll see.
Yeah, and obviously Coronation futility last year, finishing right behind the Minkster, going 1 1/8 miles, seems to be able to fit the trip, and the pedigree definitely there to do that. Just to update on race number 6, which we just watched, there is a stretch inquiry, the 8 against the 7 with the jockey objection from Juan Crawford. The 7 did drift out quite a bit, probably 3 or 4 paths. I don't know if it's enough, but if they show another replay, we'll pop it up on the screen. But currently inquiry, so race 6 has not gone official. So Race 6 hasn't gone official. That gives us more time, obviously, here to talk about the plate trial stakes. And another horse that's interesting that Ellis mentioned is Causing Mayhem coming out of the Naira circuit. Here is the maiden breaking score for Causing Mayhem in the mud at Belmont.
With Causing Mayhem challenged here by the Princess Spur. Oglethorpe is out in the middle of the track as they pass the 8th pole. It is Causing Mayhem, Oglethorpe on the outside. The Princess Spur is now back in 3rd. Causing Mayhem trying to hold off Oglethorpe. They come for the finish, and it will be Causing Mayhem to hold on.
So what's really interesting about Causing is, it's an Ontario bred that ran at Gulfstream in the winter, 2 turns, first time out on the grass, got beat a neck, and then 1 turn mile at Belmont, even though it's a Sheafwood stable homebred. What's fascinating when I looked at this and I said, well, why is this horse shipping up? I went and looked at the pedigree using Racelens, and it immediately told me that the dam of this, 5 and 40, had a very good horse. I wouldn't say champion necessarily, but a really good horse run almost exclusively, I think, or exclusively at Woodbine, named Ghostly Presence, who won 5 out of 18 and 373,000, 4 out of 12 on the Tapeta, including the Princess Elizabeth Stakes in her 4th career start back in 2016, and also second in the La Lorgnette in 2017. Then a Jammed Lovely Stakes in 2017 late, went back down to Florida, ran in the Tropical Park Oaks and won that in 2017. So a really nice pedigree for the all-weather, and again, that also was a Cheesewood homebred. So very interesting that Pletcher would come up, and of course, Kimura injured the other day, being replaced by S1 Flores, but the fact the leading jock was tabbed to ride at the time is also something of interest.
Yeah, and looking back at the form of that particular race, Oglethorpe, who finished 2nd there, ran back on Friday and finished 3rd. There has not been a next out winner out of that field, and everybody else has ran. So that is one thing that's going to be interesting. And obviously, Ellis, you mentioned the synthetic pedigree and what one of the siblings, half siblings, did on the Tapeta, but obviously first time on the Tapeta, and ran at Gulfstream at a time when the Tapeta was available. So interesting to see, 3rd surface and 3 starts, always an angle that fascinates me. I don't necessarily know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but, when I think of betting angles like that, Chase, concerns about a horse trying a 3rd surface and 3 career starts.
I mean, it certainly makes me wonder if if this is more of just like the connections, just kind of throwing something at the wall, seeing what sticks. But I don't think that, if the horse has ability, it's going to show up no matter the surface. And I'm not that concerned with that in terms of betting. Can I give you a horse I am pretty interested in this race? It'd be the 4 Duke of Love. I feel like, Ellis kind of mentioned this pace setup. I do think that it's going to heat up a little bit early. I also am not sure of what to make of Causing Mayhem going wire to wire on a sealed muddy track. So I do think the Causing Mayhem kind of sends, but I think Duke of Love is going to be sitting in a good position. And pedigree wise, I mean, you have a horse that should probably handle this distance pretty well.
And speaking of Duke of Love, he'll be ridden today by Justin Stein, who caught up earlier with our own Dawn Lupul. Let's hear that interview.
Joining me now, Justin Stein, who will have a very busy afternoon. Justin, you left the sport for a little while, as did I, but there's something about horse racing you can never leave 100%, can you?
Once it's in your blood, it's there to stay.
Yeah, all right. Well, we're
too much fun.
We're glad to have you back because since you've been back, you've won a lot of races, obviously, and you're really primed to have an excellent day. We'll start out with Duke of Love in the plate trial. I talked to you before you raced last time.
Yeah.
He went out there and ran well, but the things you talked about, his head, the way he just hangs on that left lead, were in full view last start.
Yeah, he ran a great race his last start, but he comes down the lane and he runs a little bit sideways. He's those are things that have to be worked on in the morning, I think, and be aware of in the afternoon. And I think he's just a horse that'll keep improving. He's maybe a little bit of a slow learner, but he's a lot of fun. He's super kind, and I have a lot of faith in his ability to get it done.
He's a beautiful horse, like very physically good-looking individual. I think he has all the tools. If he ever sorts out those little quirks, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, he's got a wicked turn of foot, and he's a big, strong, confident horse. No issues, you know. He comes over here, and he almost feels like sometimes he's coming over here to play. So we'll see. Hopefully, he plays big.
He's a big kid.
Yeah, very big kid. Has lots of fun out there.
Any particular trip you'd like to work out?
Same kind of trip as last time, you know, just settle him in and let him get comfortable early in the race. You know, we want a decent position, and I'm sure we can get it. And then just let him gallop around there till it's time to stretch the legs in the stretch.
And giddy up.
All
right, Duke of Love coming up in the plate trial with Justin Stein.
I'm hoping that Duke of Love joins Ron Durer in the club of horses that have won on this show who are not necessarily academic superstars.
You know, there's a place for everybody.
Yeah, and really, you know, we've seen the talent, we've seen the turn of foot, but, you know, lead changes. Jessica, like, we're looking into now the 6th career start of Duke of Love, and Duke of Love still does not want to make easy lead changes. Is that something that concerns you heading into this race?
It's such a red flag to me. You know, a horse that has an inability to do lead changes, that's probably an indication that there's something going on that's preventing them. These are premier athletes. A lead change, you know, is something that some horses need to be taught. It doesn't come automatic to every single one, but at this point, if you haven't figured that out, I don't know. And it just puts him at such a disadvantage regardless of what his raw talent is.
Well, the public doesn't seem to care right now because it looks like Duke of Love is opening as the 8-5 favorite.
And going back to what you guys, when you guys were talking about Cause and Mayhem, I would say, I mean, Chiefwood Stables, the fact that they sent this horse to Todd Fletcher, I think just by virtue, I don't think they're so much looking to see what sticks with him. I think he's just a horse that they thought was good enough to run in the state with the Fletcher barn, and that they're bringing back because he's eligible here to try to, you know, make the Queen's Plate. So I think that's basically the short of it with that horse. And he looks pretty formidable, obviously, because of that. We'll have to obviously wait and see what happens with the pace. But I think it looks like he's kind of dynamic. I know that he was able to go ahead and get the lead last out. That could have been just simply because the surface he gets over that muddy sealed track better, or maybe, you know, just what have you. But we've seen him obviously on debut nearly win, came within a neck there, sitting off, going to 7 furlongs. And the other thing I would mention is, I know you said there were no next out winners from that race, that Oglethorpe ran 3rd next out, but it was a really good 3rd. I mean, he put up a big figure. So I think that does matter, because you can have a next out winner and the next out winner won and it wasn't all that impressive. So
for me, I think Cause and Mayhem is a little bit of a toss for me off of that race. Watching it, I didn't love anything about it. It looked like he got everything his own way in a race that fell apart off the turf. And, you know, maybe there are a couple of horses that come out of this race eventually and turn out to be okay, but he got everything handed to him and still didn't really finish up that strong.
Well, let's looking at the tote board for the first time. I will say there was no change in the inquiry in race number 6. So the 7-1 and that $150,000 victory in the pick 5 went to one lucky ticket holder somewhere in the U.S. or Canada. So if it was you and you're watching this stream, congratulations. We also appreciate your guys' comments on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. We're on Woodbine social media. We're on America's Best Racing social media, and we're on America's Best Racing Twitch, one of the hottest new Twitches out there. That's what the kids tell me anyway.
What is Twitch? I'm sorry, I'm old.
I'm old too. I barely know what it is.
I thought it was a video game thing. I thought it was like
it is a video game streaming service, Ren.
Okay.
It's a lifestyle, is what it is.
I pretty much stopped playing video games after Super Mario Brothers. Like, yeah, that was
There's a comment, and obviously feel free, YouTube and Facebook, the easiest way to join the show and leave our comments. Hoping Duke of Love figures it out like Cyberknife yesterday. Cyberknife with that great run up the rail that was surprising or not surprising, depending on who you talk to. Obviously, Chase, I don't know if you were leaning into the Arkansas ness of Cyberknife there, or were you in a different direction in that race?
I mean, I feel like that's probably on brand for me to be more into Cyberknife. This is actually the first year that I hadn't been quite as enamored with my Arkansas runners running back in the Triple Crown races and everything. So, Cyberknife actually probably wasn't really on my radar for that race, especially with some of the names coming in like Jack Christopher.
All right, as we saw Monique and Doug, and congrats to Doug. If you guys are not aware, he is calling the races at Fort Erie this year. We did not need to necessarily see their faces at the moment as we look at the track feed. We'll be joining Dawn Lupul in the paddock in a little bit, but obviously looking at the early odds, and I just took them off the screen, it's pretty much going as one would expect, although Duke of Love is down from 4-1 on the morning line, currently 9-5 on the board. But an interesting horse, if you're looking at a light bulb angle to potential horses, Hall of Dreams, the 2 for Mark Cassidy with Patrick Husbands up today. Obviously broke the maiden last time out with Kazushi Kimura aboard. Had a really rough luck second the last time before that. Appears to be a deep closer, was 8.5 back, going 1 1/8 miles the last time out. If there's chaos up front, which there very well could be with Causing Mayhem and the Minkster both wanting it up front, is Hall of Dreams a horse that you guys could see using as a win candidate, or is that a horse simply for underneath on your tickets?
He's my win candidate. He's my top selection and my win candidate here for sure. I think he's a little interesting. I think there's no major standout to me, and I really don't think the Minkster wants to go this far. So I was trying to find ways to beat him, and I kind of wound up with Hall of Dreams. I liked that last effort. It was maybe a light bulb moment for him. I also really like Guard of Honor at a little bit of a price. I know he's a maiden, trying the big dogs here, but I feel like Gail Cox isn't the kind of trainer that just throws horses in for the sake of having a horse in a big race.
I would say though, the Minkster has won at 9 furlongs.
Yeah, he just doesn't. He doesn't look like one that wants really under some pressure, really wants to go that far. And I know he's bred for it. I love an English.
No, it's certainly possible. When you're stepping up against another group, obviously with Hall of Dreams, another reason to like him. He's another horse who's faced older horses and successfully. So.
Well, the one thing about the Minkster is he is making his second start after being off for 8 months, and
yes.
So the fact that he was 2 in front with 1/8 of a mile to go and was only ahead in front at the end certainly can't be held against him, in my opinion. And plus, I personally, and there was a good friend of mine many years ago, another Doug, not Doug McPherson, that did a number of studies on horses stretching out from 7 to exactly 9 furlongs. And it tended to be very good numbers in terms of it's like a furlong past a mile, a furlong past 6 furlongs. It's a very good number. His equibase speed figure of 97 is tied for the best in the race. It's to be improved upon second off the layoff. And of course, Ron Deere came back to want to beat Duke of Love and win the Marine. So I can't knock him. The 5-2 is interesting right now because he was 2-1 to start. I really didn't look past Causing Mayhem and the Minkster as far as win contenders. But to Jessica's point, real quick, Hall of Dreams definitely a horse I think you could absolutely use in second or third. You can't ever rule Mark Cassidy out. He's definitely the kind of horse that's going to lay back here off the pace. And the more I think about it, when you originally asked me, JD, about the pace, I think Causing Mayhem may actually have the lead to himself because the 4 horses inside of him don't tend to want the lead, and the blinkers went on last time. So it could become catch me for Causing Mayhem here.
It very well could be, as we see horses hitting the outdoor paddock Woodbine, and we'll be joined by Dawn Lupul shortly. Obviously, we've got 9 betting interests here, and a couple of them are tosses according to the betting public so far.
I'll say that.
Bill Needle obviously hasn't broken the maiden yet. Anybody want to say something nice about Bill Needle? hearing nothing. Surfer is the outsider in the field. Surfacer did break the maiden on the Tapeta at Gulfstream. Is 0 for 3 at Woodbine. Was in the race in the Queenston that we showed, and finished a distance 6th in that one, beaten 7 1/4 lengths by the Minkster. Second out, this is a Cassie runner, Declan Carroll up. Any thoughts that Surfer sure could maybe hit the board? Does look like a closing type.
I already used him once before. Surfer sure didn't for sure get into where I needed him to be. So
I will, given the fact that when he had his maiden breaking score on the synthetic at Gulfstream, the horse showed the ability to pass other horses. At least I know the horse has that in its skill set, and I know that it can maybe dink into second, suck up for suck up for third, that kind of run that kind of race. So I wouldn't hesitate to put this horse underneath who your top pick might be.
Big fan of Declan though too. I want to say that.
As we look at Hall of Dreams out there in the paddock, and does look in nice condition at this rate, and this is the 5th race of the season for Hall of Dreams, so you would hope that Hall of Dreams would be in that good a shape as opposed to some of these horses that are running for the second time. But obviously, this is a big spot, and we want to go to Dawn Lupul. I don't know if her camera's working. We're going to check to see if her audio is at least working to get a opinion from the paddock. Dawn, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We just can't see you.
Well, that's probably a good thing. I don't know. Maybe somebody's trying to tell me something. Sorry, guys. The horses are the stars of the show anyways. And I had a good chance to see all the different individuals in here, and actually did have a chance to catch up with trainer Josie Carroll briefly also. She's sending out, of course, a horse that I like, number 4, Duke of Love. Talk to Justin. And she was saying, I was curious as to why she was running him back, because this isn't really her style to run a horse. She ran July the 2nd to come right back into here, the plate trial, and then with plans to go on to the Queen's Plate. She said normally she would never even consider that kind of a schedule, but for this horse, he is different, and she feels he needs the education. He switches leads properly in the morning, but for some reason in the afternoon, she said he just gets to, looking around and not really focusing, and so that's been an issue for him in terms of just translating some kind of professionalism to the afternoon racing. Tons of talent. We discussed it before. I tell you, there's one horse that looks sensational, and that's one of the Cassie runners. And I was talking to assistant trainer David Adams as well. The 9 Surf for sure. This thing is a beast. I mean, capital B. Big boy. I'm surprised he actually was as precocious as he was last year as a 2-year-old, because he looks like he had a whole ton of growing that he needed to do. Last start was not great in June in the Queenston, but I don't know if he just didn't have it that day, because he looks sensational today. So we'll look to him to have a better run, but all eyes on the Minkster for good reason, undefeated. I don't think the distance in his last race was certainly going to flatter him. I don't think he'll ever want to be a 7 furlong horse, so perhaps stretching out will get him a lot more interested. But I'm going to work on my camera issues. Just an update on Kazushi Kimura for you. He did suffer a concussion, so he couldn't be with us today because of protocols, but apparently he was getting the scan done, the MRI done today, and he should be cleared for next week, so we wish him the best of luck. Unfortunately, he had to give up a couple of rides, including on number 5, Causing Mayhem, the Fletcher horse, who looks like he shipped well and everything is in good order, guys. I'm going to go work on my camera for you.
All right. Thanks, Dawn. Appreciate your insight from the paddock. And we look at the selections from those at Woodbine and Ren. I see a lot of 7s there.
Yeah,
right?
I love it. And seeing him walk by, he looks great. That's what I like to see with a horse who's heading to the track. On your toes, but not crazy. Sort of that restrained energy. And harnessed energy that he can then unleash on the track. So I think he looks great. It's encouraging to see the 7 by some names that obviously I respect. So yeah, dancing in denial. Let's see a slight upset here.
And going off of what Dawn said, sorry, go ahead, Ellis.
No, I'm going to say to his benefit, and I'm looking at it now. Maybe I shouldn't have left him out completely here. He is also second left. More importantly, the horse that won that allowance race, which was for 3-year-olds and up, was our Toscanini, who is the 3-to-1 favorite in the next race. We'll be covering the 8th race. So not only is it interesting in terms of if he runs really well, it kind of flatters Arturo Toscanini, but it was a race he can improve upon. And he's the other horse that has that 97 tying best last race Equibase figure to improve upon. So it's the same angle as the Minkster, second off the layoff and a good figure.
And I will say this, he also looks like a big horse. You can really see the Pioneer of the Nile in him. And so I think that figure jump we saw from his 2-year-old season to now here midway through our year here, I think it makes a lot of sense now to see that he just needed some time to mature into himself.
Well, going off of Dawn obviously talking to Josie Carroll about Duke of Love, we saw a little bit of it in the interview with Justin Stein, but we'll go ahead and show Duke of Love's last effort, and we'll see the refusal to switch leads and kind of the sideways running style down the stretch, but Duke of Love was still making up ground.
Rondua taken on by Duke of Love. Duke of Love trying to balance up, has the head on the side, but Rondua's raced away. Rondua grinding clear of the opposition in a massive win. Rondua stamps himself as a big threat in the Queen's Plate. Rondua canters in, wins the Marine 5 lengths and could have won by 10. Second, Duke of Love.
I'm with Jessica. I could look at that all day, and you know, I know the barn's been working at it, and when Josie Carroll says that changes leads in the morning just fine, but until I see it in the afternoon, I'm sorry, but Duke of Love's a toss for me at this stage.
As the kids say, like red flag, red flag.
Yeah, and that's the thing. A morning workout is very orchestrated. It's so different. That's why, how often do we see horses, for example, they're awful in the morning, but then they just shine bright in the afternoon, and you'll often sometimes, see the reverse. It's an orchestrated thing in the morning, and until, like you said, it's in an actual real race scenario where he's possibly getting distracted on top of already having that hard time and changing the lead as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were plenty of shows where I would warm up great and then go into the ring and forget I knew how to ride. Like you have to be able to translate to the performance too.
I might actually have a gambling audible here for myself.
Let's hear it.
The question was asked: do we think a horse like Sir for sure could, actually get up and get a piece of the in this race? And started looking more into it, and the more I've looked into it, now hearing Dawn Lupul, I actually might like this horse as a win bet candidate. The reason being the works. I hate horses coming off of bullet works and running. Horse had a bullet on June 1st, runs back June 12th, and just kind of looked empty apparently in that race in the last one at Woodbine.
The Queenston?
Queenston,
sorry. July 9th throws a bullet, but then we have a leg stretcher workout on July 15th. I don't know. I kind of like that work pattern now. Dawn Lupul's comments definitely, helps push me that way. Let's go. Fire away. 15.
Chase, this is your doom. Before Dawn spoke, I already had a win wager on Sir for sure, so I don't know how you're going to get it for that. But
it's like two negatives make a positive. Like, am I double mushing it back into the...
Potentially, there's potentially some options there for that, for some sort of reverse anti-jinx or what have you. So in terms of betting,
guys, I mean, honestly, to your point, and to give credit, going back and maybe, I mean, I'm not putting him as my win bet, but as a horse who could factor, certainly. I mean, the one time he won is when he routed at going a mile and 70, and that pedigree wants distance. I mean, so. I mean, why not, right? What is he on the board right now? 15-1?
Yeah.
Half to my silencer, who was a decent horse. I mean, there's some things, there's some positive things to look at there. In terms of betting angles, I always start with Ellis when we talk about this. Ellis, how are you attacking this race from a betting perspective?
Well, I think Cost and Mayhem right now at 7-2 is a win bet. I just think Pletcher's good enough. You look at Pletcher's record at Gulfstream, by the way. On the Tapeta, he's 8 for 40 the last few years since they had the Tapeta. So he can train a horse for Tapeta and moving easily between turf and dirt. Pardon?
Didn't they only have it this year? The Tapeta?
Yeah, I bet the last year. Yes, correct. when they installed it last summer. So pretty good record. But a win bet on him, and then I'm going to play some doubles of Causing Mayhem. I'll give it out real quick. 2, 3, 5, 6. So the 5 with a 2, 3, 5, 6 here. And this race, I'm kind of playing it safe, even though I did like a lot of the horses you other folks gave out. I'm going to box Causing Mayhem in the Minkster, and that's all I'm doing in terms of an exacta in this race.
Ace, you have something crazy now that you like the 9?
I mean, since I'm going to stick with Duke of Love a little bit, but I'm also going to use the 9, and I'm going to put together a little kind of a part wheel exacta where I'm going to use Duke of Love and Surfer Sure on top, and then I will wheel in the Minkster underneath with those 2 horses.
All right, Ren, Dancing in Denial is kind of been 5-1 this entire time we've looked at the tote board off the 6-1 morning line. You happy taking that as a win mutual?
Yes, I am very happy taking that as a win mutual. And then I mean, I could see boxing him along with guys. You kind of talked me a little bit into liking the 9 closing in, so you can play that in. But also, I would certainly want to use Causing Mayhem as well. As Paul Duca would say, leave out Pletcher, leave on a stretcher. So.
And then Jessica, you've got the morning line on Hall of Dreams. You have to be ecstatic with that.
Yeah, I'll take that, and I'm going to use him with Guard of Honor, who I think can at least hit the board at a big price. I do like how Causing Mayhem has warmed up. He has been keen in the paddock on the track. They're sending. There's no question. It'll just be a matter of if he's good enough.
As we see the My Racehorse Silks in for the 4 Duke of Love, who's now floated up to 4-1. We've got 9-5 on the Minkster as the favorite. Looks like will be the favorite as we finish the load, and we've got a couple horses back. Any final thoughts? I went through and I think got everybody how they're playing it from a gambling perspective. I'll go through and flash a couple comments here that we have, but anybody have any final thoughts as they load here?
I think the 5 goes to the lead. That's what I'm predicting now. Go to the lead and play.
Yeah, it certainly is.
All right, we will head it up to Robert Geller for the rest of the load and the call for the Plate Trial Stakes. Again, getting ready for the Queen's Plate next month, August 21st. This is the final prep on the road to the Queen's Plate, the first leg of the Canadian Triple Crown. Here's Robert Geller.
Dance in Denial. Now the Minkster. Minkster about to come up, although again, Dance in Denial, not secured, is out behind the gate. So another attempt to bring up. Dance in Denial has gone in, the gate to be secured is now ready as the Minkster walks up. And to the outside, the Marquesi trained Sir for sure. All in and locked up. Away they race in the Plate Trial, and Like Macuzzer a bit slow, and last Surf for sure as they went. And Dance in Denial and Causing Mayhem best into stride and going to the front of the centre. Causing Mayhem narrowly from Dance in Denial. And on their outside, the Minkster trying to settle down. They're 2 in front of Duke of Love. Nearer the inside, Bill Needle. Out wide as Surf for sure is Cork Ground. And back on the rail is Guard of Honor as they take the turn. Like Macuzzer second last. And at the back early is Patrick Husbands on Hall of Dreams. Causing Mayhem slows the field down a bit by 3/4. Dance in Denial is second. A length away third, the Minkster's been fighting the rider. Over on the inside, Duke of Love. They got out by a length and 3/4, Surf for sure. Behind them, Bill Needle, Like Macuzzer, Guard of Honor second last, and Hall of Dreams at the back. Up the back stretch in the Plate Trial and coming forward, Dance in Denial to put some pressure on, but it's Eswan Flores, the leader on Causing Mayhem, and breaks away again and quickens the tempo as they go inside the 5/8. Out in front, Causing Mayhem by a length, Dance in Denial. The Minkster settling better now, 2 lengths away third, a neck to Duke of Love. They're 3 in front, then Surf for sure, Bill Needle, Hall of Dreams getting to work now. Like Macuzzer second last, Guard of Honor racing into the turn, and Causing Mayhem doing just that by a length. Dance in Denial second, Duke of Love third, the Minkster the outside and starting to run home Hall of Dreams, but now Dance in Denial pounces on Causing Mayhem and has gone early to take the lead, and the Minkster revs the motor and trying to fight back. Causing Mayhem is still coming back at Dance in Denial. 3 wide the Minkster. Here comes Surf for sure and Hall of Dreams. Duke of Love behind the top trio. Battling back, Causing Mayhem. Dance in Denial, the Minkster at their girth, and here comes Hall of Dreams and Surf for sure. Surf for sure burrowing through in the centre. and Surfer Shore has plunged to the lead in the plate trial, chased home by Hall of Dreams, the Mark Cassie pair, and Surfer Shore is going on to win with authority. Surfer Shore wins the plate trial by almost 2 lengths to Hall of Dreams, Cause and Mayhem, and Duke of Love. Behind them, Luck McCuzzer, Dance in Denial, the Minx.
9254 crossing the line, and I think we're going to give everybody on the show a pat on the back here because
I said it first.
You did. Well,
Well,
actually,
Chase, I think you owe Dawn. I think you owe Dawn a cocktail.
Oh, yeah, I will split that with Dawn.
But,
Yeah, I
but
think
I like that you came back with it. I mean, then we also went ahead. We pieced together the fact that the one time he won, it was when he went further than a sprint. And wow, Dance in Denial and the 5 Cause and Mayhem just kind of put each other up there. I thought the Minxter was so keyed up in the beginning. Once I saw that, I didn't think he had a shot. But
at this point, Dawn Lupul could talk me into a Pontiac Aztec. Like that was good information.
And what was this, a Cassie Exacta? I know Jessica liked Hall of Dreams, so that's great. I mean,
and the interesting thing is one Cassie horse almost took out the other horse. I mean, the 9 rammed into the 2 on the turn there, Jessica. So
Yeah.
I think that is enough trouble, and I think Hall of Dreams is going to continue towards the Queen's Plate, and I think there's enough trouble there to make Hall of Dreams a potential contender as well. But Sir for sure put it all together today.
yeah,
That was an impressive performance.
he for sure did.
So the Minxter kind of was his own worst enemy there for the first bit. I mean, he really rank in the first turn, still rank after a half mile. And that's why, I mean, the reason is obvious why he probably just gave up there. I will say something, even though Cause and Mayhem was well beaten for third, this horse made 2 moves there.
Yeah.
He had actually, maybe it's just he was green. It's only his 3rd start, but watching the races, as I think Ren pointed out, he was dueling there with Dancing in Denial, and then he re-engaged him, and then it looked like he was totally swamped. I would have guessed at the top of the stretch he was going to be probably last, and then you see him spurt away again with another move at the end, and I think he's a length or 2 clear of 3rd of Duke of Love. So it was a very interesting race for the 5 Cause and Mayhem. I'm going to put him in my horses to watch list.
Yeah, for sure.
And as mentioned, I think we're looking at the turn here, Ren. Sorry to cut you off, but there's an inquiry on the board, and they are looking at the turn between the 9 and the 2 here. So we can.
Sometimes I'd rather be lucky than good.
There was certainly contact, and there was a lot of it. Whether it's the type of contact that leads to a disqualification, I mean, Sir for sure had no place to go, needed to go 5 wide, which pushed Hall of Dreams 6 wide. But I mean, Hall of Dreams was pushed 6 wide at the 9 for certain.
Well, I think either way, it's going to be an amazing Cassie Exacta.
Yes.
Yes. And if it does stand, big congratulations to Declan Carroll. He young guy, and also a son of one of my favorite people in David Carroll. So I would be stoked if he were able to have this stand as is.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a trainer objection in this case. I think this isn't.
Yeah, well, I would imagine not.
Running 1 and 2.
I feel like he's not that worried about this one. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Right. I don't think I can recall the last time Cassie ran 1-2 and the Exacta is going to pay about $250. It's pretty amazing thinking of it, just how well poised or well prepared these 2 were coming into the race. It should really be no doubt, but there you have it.
Yeah, we're looking at a $280 $2 Exacta roughly, and now we're getting to where we need to look here. And the turn, as mentioned, I mean, the 9 definitely pushed the 2 out a couple paths. Is that enough given the action that was happening? I mean, the 9 needed to find a spot to run.
Let's see.
Did the 2 establish position there? I mean, that's a tough call.
Can we say that it cost the 2? That it really cost the 2? And I'm not sure if I can, but I mean, it's a notable bump. I will say that. I've seen him taken down for less. I've seen him stay up, with more. So I'm I just throw myself at the mercy of the racing gods at this point.
It looks like they were running side by side, and it was just unfortunately a circumstance of, coming around and that centrifugal force drawing them out around, and that was causing the bump. I personally would leave it, but I'm not the steward. I'm not one of the stewards, so.
And I think we were
push, that's for sure. On the other hand, there's bullying your way through a hole, and then there's that kind of momentum on the turn. And I think as a general rule, stewards will leave that alone.
Yeah.
Yep. And now you've got a plane from Pearson flying overhead. But Dawn, in regards to this inquiry, if this holds, I think you made a lot of people money here with the 9.
Yeah.
What are the thoughts of people on track about this inquiry?
I remember what I said about this horse when they were in the walking ring is what a beast he is. Yeah. He's a huge beast. So I could see, he would just have to move out a little bit and he would send everybody else flying. And I think that's kind of what happened. I just saw Declan come back out of the front room, the Clerk of Scales room out front here. So he's pled his case. I know Patrick Husbands has already pled his case. So we'll see what happens. But I was listening to you guys a little bit there. I think they let it stand. I wish I had been able, I wrote an article touting this race. I wish I'd been able to see this horse beforehand and realize that how much he's grown up since the last time I saw him, because he really looked sensational today. Let's hope it stands, because then, I hope somebody bet a couple bucks on him, because I didn't.
Oh. Well, you all got us reassessing our own feeling of whether the horse was worthy or not in here. So thanks for that.
Yeah. Oh, not allowed.
All right.
We're on. Robert Geller just announcing that it's not allowed, so the result will stand. So, yay. Yay.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thanks, guys. I'll be back for the next.
All right, that was Dawn Lupul from the front side at Woodbine. 9254 stands. The Cassie Exacta stands as they cross the finish line 9-2. So big win for Declan Carroll. And I think really what's next? I think a bunch of these horses are they're going to be some of your runners in the Queen's Plate. I think, the 9 definitely now Surf for Sure might be the top Cassie horse now, which is surprising to say coming into this as a horse that was 21-1, but a horse that made a lot of sense to us, and a horse that is an absolute physical specimen, as Dawn Lupul pointed out to us. The Minkster, I think there are questions now about the distance, and can the Minkster get the distance for the Queen's Plate? There's lots of other mile races to go after as 3-year-olds at Woodbine.
I still don't think it was the distance. I think he got in his own head. He was so keyed up in the beginning. And once a horse falls apart mentally like that, they've expended so much energy as it is. So until he actually, again, he's already won at 9 furlongs. So until he does this and it just is falling apart, and he's not falling apart mentally, he actually ran his race and still couldn't get there and still couldn't sustain, then I'll say that he's not a horse who at a certain stakes level can get a distance. But I think he just lost the race early on.
I'll add to that.
Do this before that's a pattern though. For me, he's kind of at this point shown me who he is and what his limitations may be, whether they are mental or physical.
No, that's true too. Yeah, for sure. I mean, the same thing when we're talking about lead changes in a horse, whether they're going to get it or not. Obviously, any horse can get it distance depending on how fast they're going and how the mental fortitude that they have. But yeah, I
had a trainer who used to tell me a cow could jump 3 feet.
Exactly.
Your horse can't jump. She said a cow can jump 3 feet. Your horse can jump 3 feet.
I've seen videos of jumping cows.
Yeah. Whether they can do it well or not is entirely different.
Exactly.
I think one of the reasons to maybe draw a line through the Minkster's race, and still might be in his head, I don't disagree with you, Jessica or Ren, is that the strategy may have been to try and go for the lead, but when David Moran saw the 2 horses inside of him were going, he had to yank him back. And as soon as you try and rate a horse that doesn't want to be rated, you're going to have that happen. And so it's a matter of training him to really relax and be further back than he might mentally want to be.
I agree with that too. Yeah.
As we will pull back up here the trophy presentation for the plate trial stakes. And obviously, next out, we will most likely, as long as the horse, comes back sound, Sir, for sure, we will definitely see in August at the Queen's Plate. And tickets are on sale still August 21st at Woodbine. We'll be there live. America's Best Racing, myself, Dan Torgman, and Dawn Lupul will be trackside for that. But we've got another race before we get into one of the other key races of the day, obviously the Woodbine Oaks. We do have an allowance event that's drawn an interesting field here on the turf. We have... talking about the Canadian Triple Crown, we have a Triple Crown race winner from last year, Hadassah, who won at Fort Erie on the dirt, going to the turf here and opens up at 7-1. Arturo Toscanini is the opening favorite, but actually opened above the morning line 3-1. Arturo Toscanini at 7-2. And I know this is a horse, Ellis, that you like a lot for Mark Casse.
Yeah, I should have just played some Casse doubles, I think. Would have been the smart thing to do. Well, Casse has 3. Does he still have 3? He still has 3 in the race. Arturo Toscanini, Henley's Joy, who ran on very well for second. I'll probably get back to him and use him in some fashion in this race. And the other I'm missing here. Oh, and Palazzi. But Arturo Toscanini is a horse that was pretty well regarded. He was second in a Group 3 in Ireland last May at 1.25 miles on the grass. That was the third start of his career. He won first out at 7 furlongs in the straight. And then he was in the Irish Derby. Didn't run well at all, ran 7th. I can say good or bad after that. And the Queen's Vase, by the way, at Ascot last year. And so highly regarded horse. Moved from Aidan O'Brien, so I'm assuming he was a Coolmore horse. I didn't check that. 6th in his debut on the Tapeta, but a race moved off the grass. Another race off the grass. 3rd, finally, when he got to run on the grass, the first time since importing to North America and also at Woodbine. I mean, he just made a visually impressive run from 9th to win. I watched the video. He looked beaten completely. He really did look beaten about the 16th pole. Wasn't doing anything and then surged. I think that's the comment. Full of run is the chart caller's comment. From 6th, 4.5 back to win by 3/4 in the last 1/8 of a mile. I think he just has a huge future.
And speaking of that impressive run, let's take a look at it.
As they come down the home stretch, and it's Money Printer who's hit the front. Dance in denial trying to get this leader, and now Shangasa breaking alone, and Arturo Toscanini's coming up the inside. The leader's tied, Money Printer. Dance in denial, Shangasa. Arturo Toscanini flying home on the inside. Dance in denial, Arturo Toscanini and Shangasa. Arturo Toscanini up the rail, has won it.
And
A visually impressive run, Ellis, but I almost think the most impressive part of that is Robert Geller's one of the best in the games. I don't know how he picked up that horse that early. As somebody that's calling races quite a bit these days, Jessica, that's the most impressive thing from watching that replay to me.
I call quarter horses, so I only have about 30 seconds to figure it out. 2-turn thoroughbreds are even harder. It's amazing. It happened. The action of calling a race happens so much faster than you even think it does.
So Jessica, obviously, been calling a lot of races at Sam Houston. You are out at Colonial right now, and a big week out there at Colonial, and we look forward to seeing you on the in-house feed there. And your witty banter back and forth with Jason Beam is what we all love.
We have way too much fun. It's a shame we don't actually like each other. It's all for show.
I don't know anybody in the world that doesn't love Jason. I had to say, I'm calling you out on Jessica. I'm calling you out on that one.
I know I have his book somewhere here on the bookshelf, and I was just going to put it up, but that's too much digging, and I've got all this background and this green screen and all that stuff to deal with. So, but yeah, Jason Beam, race caller, one of the good guys in the game. But getting back to this race, obviously, very visually impressive for Arturo Toscanini, and Light Bulb, but still very much to me has that European running style of one run and is going to have to find a way. And that is going to be my one concern. I mean, as visually impressive as that was, that's a very European running style of just make one run down the lane and find a path. And we'll see drawn in the middle of the field if Arturo Toscanini can draw the trip. Chase, looking at this race from your perspective, any horses stand out on paper to you?
I leaned into Thread of Blue, and a lot of it has to do mostly with kind of the trainer angles at play here. We got the horse moving to the Donald McRae barn after being in the Mark Casse barn after shipping into Woodbine. McRae great off the claim, great with turf starts, great stretching horses out. Also, I just think that this is going to be a really kind of slow, muddled pace early, and I could see Thread of Blue being a little bit more forwardly placed and maybe trying to kick away on the front end, not necessarily having the lead, but being very close to it. That's my big one. I'm just hoping that we didn't use all of the long shot juice last race.
Well, speaking of long shot juice, I mean, there's several to choose from here in this race, and obviously you made a thought towards the 11. Anybody else like any of the long shots in the race? Because I do have one to me that stands out on paper, but I'm interested to hear, Ren, who you like in this spot.
I wouldn't say the horse is a long shot. He's currently 6-1 on the board, but box and score for Jonathan Thomas. If you look, I mean, I know he's 22.5 lengths beaten last out in the Belmont Gold Cup, but that was just 7 days removed from running in an optional 62 where he was 2.5 lengths beaten by Soldier Rising. Soldier Rising next ran second, beaten just the neck to Channel Maker in stakes competition there in the, state, I can't remember the race right now, but put up a pretty significant 94 buyer there for Soldier Rising. But I mean, I think this is a horse who you can make excuses. Again, a 7-day turnaround. Obviously, they didn't want to give him Lasix again because it was so tight with that. And I just think this is the type of horse who could really take to the track here at 1 1/8. So we'll see. I mean, Jonathan Thomas is a name you should not ignore.
Always. Like I always include them somehow, somewhere.
Yeah. and aside from that, anything Dawn likes.
Yes.
That's pretty much all you need to know. Like that's our work here is done.
Exactly. We should just all act like we already all like the same horse as Dawn. We're gonna let her talk about it.
I'm just gonna walk up with a handful of money and say, "I have this many, Dawn. Tell me what to do."
What am I supposed to do?
The Grand Couturier was the race you were thinking of.
There you go. There we go.
I've been practicing saying that.
Well done.
Okay, let's hear it.
Crazy. Okay, this is the exact and trifecta. It's the 9 Dundrum at 40-1.
Okay.
And I made all kinds of notes about this horse. I don't know what even got me onto it, but I went and looked at the race in the Ontario Jockey Club. And it's just interesting to see a horse that's 10th and only 3 back with a quarter to go, 8th only 1 back with an 8th to go, and 7th beaten 2.5. And I watched the race. First of all, Candy Overlord came back to win just on the 22nd. What was that? Friday. So the runner-up's already come back to win second. And the 9th horse came back to win on Friday. I don't remember the name of it, believe it or not. But Dundrum won the Vice Regent Stakes in September of 2019. And that was his last win. So it's going to be 3 years, no drinks of water. But it is his third off a layoff. And that last race, believe it or not, first with blinkers, now he's taking them off. They were trying. That last race was just so interesting in that he was so close and yet 7th. And I just don't know if that was, some people hate it when horses are close together at the wire and some people love it, but he wasn't beaten that much. And the speed figure out of that race, the Echo-based figure was 98. And to put that in perspective, for example, Hadassah is 97. Arturo Toscanini is the same 98. So for a 40-1 shot, now 38-1 to be honest here, I could see using this horse, and I actually did play a trifecta. I played 6-9 all, 6 all 9 as a trifecta because I think it's quite interesting that this horse might hit the board.
Has the 16-year-old Slade Jones aboard, who's been quite the story at Woodbine, looking for what I believe will be his 10th win, and obviously a big racing jockey family. Jono Jones, Charlie Jones, and now Slade. Jessica, who are you looking towards in this race?
I like Palazzi a little bit. I mean, just going for further, a big day for the Cassidy barn. I thought that last effort was a really good return to form. He looks like he's heading back in the right direction. This is a horse that, to me, when he was kind of on his game last year as a 3-year-old, he was reasonably competitive with some of the better turf horses in the U.S. So off of that last race, just needs one more step forward.
My crazy selection, even though people aren't listening for my selection, is I like There Goes JoJo with the other apprentice jock aboard, and really you have to dig a little bit. Obviously, in very similar form to Ellis, has not won. Ellis's horse has not won since 2020, but had won back-to-back races in that one, and has some tactical speed, which I think, given the way the EP Taylor has run today, we've seen some runoff lead type horses and then get caught from the horse in second place. I think There Goes JoJo can sit that trip, and I think that's a chance for Michael DePaulo to pick up a win here. We've got Dawn Lupul live in the paddock, and Dawn, who looks good out there from your perspective?
I'm just not me, that's for sure. I'm just trying to style myself here, just casually, lean against the fence here. They went straight out because of the delay from the inquiry in that last race. But number 5, Boxing Score. This is a horse that's impressed me in the past. I'm sure you guys have. Yeah, get the thumbs up for you. Go, girl, go. He really is just one of these well put together horses. I mean, you have to look at what they've done, right? At some point, you have to say it doesn't really matter what they look like in the paddock. With the younger horses, the 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, definitely. But as you get a little longer in the tooth, like the rest of us, don't judge us on our appearance, judge us on what we can do. But this horse, he seems to be putting it all together. Again, he looks like he's doing really, really well. So I appreciated his overall demeanor as he was coming, getting saddled and everything, but they're rushing them out there pretty quickly. The 2-horse Henley's Joy was the other one I was looking at for Mark Cassey. Mark's stable here, if you follow Woodbine at all. They are firing on all cylinders. We don't get Mark up at Woodbine very often because he's like Mr. Saratoga now. He may come for the Queen's Plate. I did get a chance to catch up with assistant trainer David Adams after the last race and just talked about this horse. And he said, you know what, Dawn? He said, horses will fool you. He was, of course, referencing Sir for sure. He said, this horse and the other one, the one that was second, he said the two of them trained together. And he said there wasn't much to like about either of them. He said they was all out to try to get them. That was Hall of Dreams. He was all out to try to get them to go 59. He said they really both surprised him. They'll both look towards the plate, obviously, and he was more impressed with the horse with Sir for sure after the race, obviously, than before. But it's good to know. It's good when they fool you in the right way in the afternoon than to be the morning glories. Nobody likes that kind of horse.
All right, Dawn, thanks for your feedback there. And we've got the Woodbine Oaks, and we've seen some major upsets in the Woodbine Oaks in the past for sure. So it's been a day of upsets. We'll see if we can keep it going then.
Yeah, I saw people just saying it's long shot day. Things have gone crazy at Woodbine. So you never know. You never know.
All right, thanks, Dawn. We'll check back in with you following this one as we take a look at the post parade, and there was a kind of a long delay with that inquiry, so they straight out to the track now, and we're getting kind of a running post parade here. Looking at the betting market, Arturo Toscanini 5-2 favoritism right now. Hadassah is taking some action now, down to 5-1, and we've seen it before, we've covered it, but we'll show last year Hadassah winning up the Prince of Wales Stakes at Fort Erie while we have a second.
They'll move to the top of the stretch with Harlan Estate widest on the outside of Tidal Forces and Hadassah. HC Holiday still needing a way through. 3/4 in 1:11-2. They're in the stretch of the 86th running of the Prince of Wales Stakes. Hadassah hanging on grimly. Harlan Estate right at his throat latch. Hadassah is digging in deep. Hadassah is champion of the Prince of Wales Stakes.
It took me so long to just book it in my head that Hadassah is a boy, because every time I hear Hadassah, I think of Esther in the Bible. So it took forever. No, it's not a filly.
And Hadassah ran all 3 legs of the Canadian Triple Crown last year, but that was the lone win. So this horse had 1 win in 1 start at age 2, 1 win in 5 starts at age 3, and now is 0 for 2 here at age 4. Is anybody giving this horse a chance to get the 3rd career win in this one?
Why
I would
not?
say he's on an improving pattern. I don't know if it's good enough to win. I mean, he came back from a nice layoff October to May, 3rd and 3rd. He did improve the figures. Certainly has run this far, not necessarily well. Never done anything past. I mean, the mile 3/16, but that was on the dirt, on turf. But this is certainly a pattern that's worthy of considering. And if the odds are right, you can't talk out. 5 to 1 would be a little low for me.
Watching the post parade a little bit, I just want to comment on Arturo Toscanini, who for me, watching the way he's warming up becomes a little bit more of a hard pass for me. And I don't know if this is how he warms up every time, but he's really fussy in his face. I mean, he's looked unpleased and agitated kind of from the get-go. But I've never seen him warm up before, so maybe he is just a horse that's fussy in the bit, but nothing that I like to see.
Yeah, kind of looking back, and obviously we don't necessarily get the level of notes in the U.S. That are easily accessible from race to race that we do in Europe. So I'm looking through some of his European notes because they tend to mention things like this, and I'm not seeing anything other than this was an interesting comment after start 3. Quite possibly a horse will benefit from some headgear at some stage, and damn improved for fitting of cheek pieces. So
I love a good cheek piece.
There's some random European form comments there, which seem always more opinion than actual whatever. Yeah.
Also, say he was gelded after his first U.S. start on January 5th. He was gelded before he came back in May. So was that March? I can't remember. Whatever his second
March
US start.
A little brain surgery never hurt anybody.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got Toro Toscanini 5 to 2, and then you're getting a good price on anybody else you like. Henley's Joy at 5 to 1, Palazzi up to 8 to 1. Is Palazzi a horse we hammer here now, Jessica?
I'll go with him, sure. Yeah, why not? Let's lean in.
Declan and Mark Cassidy 2 in a row, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, strike while the iron's hot.
You see it quite often where a jockey wins a big race and he just keeps rolling on that confidence wave.
And people are betting down your 11 a bit, Chase.
I'm noticing that. Yeah, it's good feeling, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see why the horse is taking money. I'm thinking that there's some really good value in daily doubles here. I'm more than likely going to use the 10 and 11 in a daily double into our big race coming up with the 3 and the 7. Really heavy on that 7 to tip my hand for next race.
Obviously, the concern on the 11. I mean, I did have to go back and do some archaeology. The last win was the Saratoga Derby Invitational, which was in the 2019 edition. So it's been a while, and I like the 4. There goes JoJo. We'll see. I'm just more worried about that match race, Chase. We'll see. In terms of long shots, I think my 4 can get your 11. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
All right. We still have 6 to load in. Any final thoughts from anybody? All right. With all of those wonderful final thoughts in mind, we will head to Robert Geller for the remainder of the load and the call here of the 8th race here at Woodbine.
We're all thinking of the Oaks.
That's right.
A thread of blue moves up, all in, and locked up. On their way, and a very nice start out wide, Dundrum, Hadassah, and a thread of blue. Away okay in the center, Mambo in the forest. Pride of Distinction coming up on the inside, hunting towards the lead and also tracked out by Henley's Joy, getting back early English Conqueror, being passed by There Goes Jojo, Arturo Toscanini, 3 behind him, and towards the back Palazzi, and last is Box and Score. Hadassah's assumed the lead out by a length and a half to Dundrum, racing up on the inside, Pride of Distinction with a thread of the outer, 2 lengths away, There Goes Jojo, racing up on the outside, Mambo in the Forest, just shading Henley's Joy as the leader gets away from them. Hadassah, Arturo Toscanini's a little worse than mid-pack, and behind them Palazzi, English Conqueror, and 3 away last, Box and Score. Opening up the margin on the opposition, Hadassah out by 5 lengths. In second placing is There Goes Jojo inside the 5/8. On the outer, Dundrum, off the rail, Pride of Distinction. A thread of blue the outside from Henley's Joy. Palazzi tracks on the inside. Arturo Toscanini's in the center. On the outside, Mambo in the Forest. Taken up there, Palazzi. Back to third last. Then English Conqueror. And in the back, Box and Score. Hadassah out by 4 or 5 lengths in second. There Goes Jojo as they head inside the 3/8. Another 4 lengths away. Pride of Distinction on the inside of Dundrum. A length and a half away is a thread of blue. Arturo Toscanini's running on. Hadassah's given them something to chase. Hadassah down the home stretch, a quarter of a mile to run. And now the challengers are coming. On the outside is Dundrum and is making inroads here. Dundrum races up to hit the front. Dundrum on the outside of Hadassah. They share it. And back in third, a thread of blue, but it's still Hadassah and Dundrum's running about. Hadassah's not stopping, is finding, and this has been a fantastic run. A great ride. Gary Boulanger, Hadassah. 2.5 Dundrum. Third placing's gone to a thread of blue, and then came There Goes Jojo Palazzi, and the next headed by Pride of Distinction in the time of 1:44.26.
Well, Ellis, I thought you had it for a second.
That was a great pick from Dundrum, and then big congratulations to the Wellings with Hadassah.
Yeah, I mean, Dundrum, was close, and Hadassah got away, and then he still re-engaged, and it was a nice run, but Hadassah got that breather, I think, right around the top of the stretch, which kept him going. It was unfortunate. I needed somebody else to beat Dundrum to catch a nice try there.
We're collectively seeing the ball pretty well because Chase's horse finished third, my horse finished fourth. I mean, we're doing pretty well as a stream team here.
I was going to say the real story going forward is that my horse beat JD's horse by about a nose for the third.
Hadassah back in the winner's circle, as mentioned, going into this race. 1 win at age 2, 1 win at age 3, and now a win at age 4. We'll see if Hadassah can get 2 wins in a year for the first time next time out for the Wellings. Congratulations to them. And Palazzi ran well for third or at the end for fifth, but Palazzi got just crushed late at the windows, all the way down to 9-2. We were talking 7-1 at one point on the 3-horse there, but 10-9, 11-4. Another favorite goes down. We've only seen one favorite win at Woodbine today, and it was a pretty long price favorite. It was a 7-2 favorite. So
I feel like I'm snake bit at Woodbine. I just do. Like the past 2 weeks, I don't know. I mean, there's no excuses, but it would be great to get a winner. I will say, JD,
it was very prescient of you to show the Prince of Wales stakes, though. So people are taking notes of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was, it's tough to find, obviously a reason you like Hadassah, but hey, won a Canadian Triple Crown race last year, whether it was on the dirt or any other surface. They could have been in South Korea running on sand. The horse was impressive in that race, and obviously took them wire to wire here. And I did mention that we have seen some very spread out fields on the turf today at Woodbine, and that was yet another race where first to last at the far turn was probably 30 lengths. It was a very stretched out field, and Hadassah was able to hold on. Gary Boulanger aboard. Slade Jones and Dundrum. I mean, what a ride from the 16-year-old. Mentioned that earlier. We actually had two apprentice jockeys in Micah Husbands finishing fourth there. So the apprentice is doing well today at Woodbine, and a winner's circle photo for Hadassah, the winner of race number 8. And we've got the from our standpoint, the main event for today, the Woodbine Oaks, coming up here in roughly 25 minutes. We'll wait for these numbers to get official, and then we'll be able to talk to Justin Stein about the Woodbine Oaks, and everybody here on the stream will be able to stretch their legs for a couple minutes as we play that interview with Dawn Lupul. Really been an exciting day if you like long shots at Woodbine, and we've been trying to help you find them. Hadassah wins here at 7-1 in this allowance event on the EP Taylor turf course. They were so spread out. I don't, and this is not like in a mean. I don't know what. Bren, did your horse have trouble there, the 5? Because it was a horse I picked as well.
He was slow from the blocks, but then he also got pinched back. I don't know that it would have made any huge difference. The one thing that I was curious about is I was watching the run up to that. I don't know why. And listen, I'm not going to be one of these people who's questioning a jockey because I don't know what's going on necessarily. I don't know if they've necessarily been given instructions, if they're feeling something with the horse, whatever. I'm not going to try to analyze tactics, but I was a bit surprised that when he missed the break, there never seemed to be a sense of urgency to get him involved into the race until heading into the turn. And that kind of bothered me. I was like, come on, man, run. But I mean, again, I don't think it would have made a difference in terms of, a winning, maybe hitting the board, possibly. But there was no doubt about the winner here, Hadassah. And it was just doling out the speed there on the front end. Big congratulations to Boulanger there for getting the horse home. I mean, obviously it was leg weary there at the end on the wrong lead, and still was able to sustain and get the win. So again,
I was going to say, it's just one of those races that where you have a field full of horses that no one really wants to assert itself. So what happens is the horse that's the most aggressive is the one that can just go out and just take it on the front end.
Yeah, that's true. And the mile was 132, so it's not like he really walked on the lead. I mean, that 132, and it was 144 at the end, so a little bit, I'd say slow.
But doing that without pressure, it makes all the difference.
Yep.
Like, if you don't have someone breathing down your neck, like even if you are going a little quick, I think some horses get brave out by themselves.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
Chase, my horse, your horse, Ellis's horse, and a Canadian Triple Crown race winner. $3,097 for the super for 20 cents. I'm going to keep myself the rest of the day.
Yeah. We should talk to each other beforehand to get these written down. Way to go, team, is what I have to say.
That was good. That was good teamwork. As we'll move on to race number 9 and get ready to go. Oh, we don't need to see that. So get ready to go with the Woodbine Oaks. Like I said, I'm going to give everybody here a chance to stretch their legs a bit, as we are normally a 2-race show. We did 3 races, and we actually showed 4 today. So we're going to take a break, but we do have some good content here as Justin Stein caught up with Dawn Lupul earlier to discuss Pioneer's Edge in the Woodbine Oaks.
Justin Stein with some comments on the Woodbine Oaks. And Justin, a great daughter of Pioneer of the Nile, caught my eye the first time that she ran. You were on her. You've been on her for all 3 of her lifetime starts. She won her maiden so easily. Let's get a little insight into her strengths.
Well, she's extremely well bred, and she has a lot of talent that I don't think we've seen yet. She is a different kind of filly, and I think that the Josie Carroll crew over there have really handled her well. She's not an easy horse to get along with. Yeah, she's tricky.
Talk to me about the Celine.
The Celine was a day that she got out of bed and said it was the wrong side of the bed, and really wasn't interested in doing her job to the best of her ability that day. A little bit fractious in the gate, and kind of telling us, giving us signs that she wasn't interested that day. And I think that the Celine is a throw-out race. The barn came back with some different techniques with her and working with her, and they're confident that she'll run a better race this time.
You've ridden some tough fillies in the past. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Authentic comes to mind. She would have her moments.
Yeah. Academic.
Or academic, sorry.
Academic,
yes.
Academic. She was a opinionated little bay filly, and she had some moves, and fortunately she never really pulled them on me. She just ran biggest races of her life for me.
Academic is 16th to go, and this has been a brilliant ride by Justin Stein. London Tower too late, and Academic has won the Oaks.
Fillies, I get along with them, I guess.
Yes, you do. And now you've got a temperamental gray filly.
Yeah, the best kind, the grays. Best horse I rode for the first time in my career was a gray. She wore all kinds of equipment.
They can be tough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's hope she's tough and she brings her A game.
Yeah, well, that's it. She applies that toughness to the race. It'll be game over.
Justin Stein will be aboard Pioneer's Edge coming up in the Oaks.
Very excited.
Nice.
We'd like to thank Justin Stein for spending some time talking to Dawn Lupul and giving some insight on Pioneer's Edge. Another takeaway I want to give there is the horse he was talking about at the end there, one of the Gray fillies early in his career, was a horse, one of my favorite horses of all time, actually. Monashee, who was an absolute beast in British Columbia, and then came down for the retirement race in the U.S. and won a listed stake at Santa Anita with Mike Smith aboard. And this was a horse that won a couple of grade threes up at Hastings. Was a very, very cool filly, a very temperamental filly. And Justin Stein has had his hands full so far today and has another temperamental filly in Pioneer's Edge. It seems like Justin has got all of the horses that don't want to change leads and want to run crooked down the stretch today. So we wish him the best of luck here in the Oaks.
Yeah, not the best post either for a filly, because he's going to have to make some decisions from the 10, even though it was a fairly good run at the turn, though. But, she likes to run mid-pack, so he's going to have to just get her to relax. The plus is she is the only horse in the field adding first-time Lasix, and it is her second route, so maybe mentally she'll improve a little bit physically off that. But it's going to be kind of tough, at least from a positional standpoint, to get her to relax when she's going to be way outside there and he's going to move her in, save ground.
Yep, and we look at the early numbers. There's the final order of finish in race number 8, but we look at the bottom of the screen there. Moira is obviously opened up at 3-5, and a very popular horse, and not just for the Mimi type name, Moon type name. I don't know why I said Mimi. Moon E was what I was going for there. But with Moira, obviously a Schitt's Creek reference, but 3-5 for a horse stretching back out for the first time in the 3-year-old campaign. Interesting to see this price so short now, 4-5. Any concerns about this horse at that price, or does anybody think that price is a value and they want to play that price of 4-5 on Moira?
I don't think it's a huge value. I am using her on top. I'm going to, sometimes you have to eat some chalk and move on. I think she gets everything set up for her here, but I think you have to try to find some value in the exotics and find some long shots to use with her.
And that's why I tried to use her in a daily double, because I felt like I was going to get more value out of her in a daily double as opposed to using her, betting her straight in the win pool. But I'll tell you right now, with what the wheel pays on the daily double are sitting, I'm the biggest Sister Seagull fan out there, because it's paying $129 for the buck.
And I don't know what I missed. I'm sorry. I had to run upstairs and check on my girl.
I'm kind of with you, Chase. By the way, my two top picks in the race, and this is actually my website race here. I mean, I knew Moira was going to be heavy favorite, so I just didn't want to put her on top. I like Loaded Vixen and Sister Seagull, and I could see both of them doing it. Loaded Vixen, by the way, again, looking at the pace scenario, stretching out from 7 furlongs with knowing that Moira is not really going to want the lead. Super flashy. He's the only one I think that Loaded Vixen has to beat to the lead. And Patrick Husband's getting on for these connections. It's just really intriguing to me. Mike Dunslow, I wasn't really familiar with him. And 10 for 68 with all starters, I think, the last 5 years. Of those 10 winners, 7 with Patrick Husband's aboard. So very intriguing that they put the horse in this race, currently 20-1 off a maiden win. It was not in for the tag. Claimed before that from Joey G on the comeback of a 5-month layoff. And then a bullet, best of 59, 5 furlong workout. I'm not knocking Sister Seagull. I just want to talk about the better price. But I'm with you, Chase. I think Sister Seagull has a big shot here. If Loaded Vixen does go too fast on the stretch out, spent down a little bit, 7-1, but definitely value there.
Yeah, it seems like this horse is just relishing the extra distance every time that they throw it at, throw extra distance at the horse. I mean, By Heart Spun, Out of a Kitten's Joy, can't really complain about those, that pedigree. Unless Ren can tell me I can complain about it, then I will complain about it, because she is the authority.
You can complain about anything. It's in our DNA.
Yeah,
I'm actually very surprised, and it looks like juicy value to me at 7-2 at Salabia. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I know.
agree with you there.
Okay, I know it's Chad Brown, and but that's not why I like her. I mean, it's incentive, obviously. I will say that this is a horse. I mean, yeah, she went to the lead last out, slow fractions up front, but she rated on debut. When she lost last out, that was to her stablemate Contemporary Art. She finished within a neck of Contemporary Art in that debut there. And Kanisi, who was the winner there, she most recently put up an 84 buyer figure, scoring an optional 80, non-winners of one other than at Saratoga for Christophe Clement. This is a half-sister to Group 3 winning sprinter, I know, but Sergei Prokofiev. But when you're buying Medaglia d'Oro and you're out of a tap-in mirror, and again, she's already gone a mile in the 16th. Yes, she hasn't won yet, but it depends on the level of competition. And you do see that she's in against 3 and ups. And now we're back to restricted 3-year-old filly competition. And I think especially with females, I mean, there's a little bit more of the hierarchy that you see, or the herd dynamics that you see. And so I think this is a horse who looks very generous to me at 7-2 coming from the Chad Brown barn.
And she has to be an exceptional looking horse, because she doesn't have, I mean, the most impressive female family.
No, she was at 1.6 million.
Yeah, so like she has to really show herself quite well, because there's nothing in her pedigree that should cost 1.6.
And I'm pretty sure a friend of mine, I see that she was bred by Anderson Farms. A friend of mine said that somebody associated with the farm who lives here in the States actually is flying up for the race. So that's obviously encouraging.
Sure. You can always tell if someone wants to get their picture taken that day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, when Shadwell spent $1.6 million at Keeneland for this horse, obviously they knew they were getting an Ontario bred, but I don't think necessarily that this was option A for this horse. I think this is kind of a nice option B, and that's my one concern going in is do they think this horse is kind of that next cut down? But I do want to show the last race, which is going to be a second behind Contemporary, who looks like Contemporary looks like she could be quite the horse here. But here's a look back at June 17th at Belmont.
It is Salabaya, who ran 3/4 in 1:15 and who has a narrow lead over Contemporary Art, but Contemporary Art now draws right alongside. Here is Contemporary Art on the outside to take the lead from Salabaya. Contemporary Art in front and getting away. Salabaya is next in second, followed by Personal Best. It is Contemporary Art, and she wins here at 2-5. Salabaya held second.
There are a few things I like physically more than a Medaglia d'Oro mare, by the way.
Right?
They just check every box for me.
Well,
yeah.
Ren said, had a hand motion whenever she said Medaglia d'Oro that was like this, and now I don't think that I can say the words Medaglia d'Oro without doing
like you kind of have to.
Just yes, pedigree queen.
Yes. Make it rain. Yeah, there's Dawn.
Hi, it's windy out here, as per usual at Woodbine. Guys, there's stuff going on out here, like breaking news. So that's why I'm here. So number 3, Moira, she's light in experience. She's only run 3 times. She's obviously attracting all the attention. Today, for the first time ever, she's being saddled outside here in the walking ring. Like normally she would saddle in the paddock. Now to be fair, we haven't used the walking ring for every single race. So there's that. But she was not being good. And if you can hear the farrier in the background, and you can actually see way over my shoulder, Moira has been acting poorly. They do have the saddle on her now. It wasn't easy, but in the sort of tantrum and antics that she was throwing, she was able to pull a shoe, a hind shoe. I believe it was a hind shoe. So that is having to be repaired here by our blacksmith, our paddock blacksmith, Tony. So not the way I said to Kevin, I said, why do these horses want to give you ulcers? And he looks so frustrated. I feel bad for him. This is not what you want to happen. And you get a chance to see her as she goes past me now. I'll attempt to follow along. So she's settled down a lot from what she was doing. I don't know, like fillies, like it's fillies this time of year. You can get those things, but she's definitely not acting her normal self. As a handicapper and one who specializes in body language, I take those signs extremely negatively. I didn't really like that she was being saddled outside in the first place, because it just meant to me that maybe she got up on the wrong side of the bed today, period. That they knew that she was going to be a little bit silly. Maybe the wind is, exciting her. I don't know, but that's something to watch from Moira. I will forgive a horse like this. I don't love that she has to now get a shoe repair on top of everything else. I will give this horse, a horse like this, the benefit of the doubt if they do get out onto the track, under saddle, with the jockey up and relax, but definitely keep an eye on her as we get closer to post time. I love that. I miss this Woodbine wind. I really do. Some of the other horses I had a chance to see, of course, the Salabaya, the Chad Brown horse, the 6 horse. So I remember speaking with the breeder, David Anderson. He's the breeder of this horse. There were discussions a few weeks ago about entering her here. And at that point, he told me, Chad feels that she might be a better dirt horse than maybe a turf horse. So now we're translating that into synthetic track. So I don't know, but she really is a good-looking individual. She looks like she has all the tools. It just might be a lot to ask of her to come here on a day like today, to step onto a synthetic track for the first time. Sometimes I find that horses like this really, really need a work over the surface, so we're lacking that. She's had to ship. It's a lot to ask of a young filly, so there's that. The 8 horse, Busy Maline, was, she got the physical kind of build, everything looks good that way, but a little bit nervous today, so the nerves are up, and she's one of the ones that has the most experience in the field. I'm not sure about the 5 McCool's Girl. She's really fine. Like, she's got the length. She's built like a greyhound, so she doesn't carry a lot of extra weight. So I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm 50-50 on her. But if Moira is going to just not adjust well, and we've got people here, so they're just trying their best to keep her quiet and still walking around. So it looks like we're going to have a bit of a delay. And I'll stay around. I'll stick around. Just, if you guys can talk amongst us, we can discuss what's going on here with this breaking news here in the paddock with Moira.
Yeah, that's a bit of a blow, here in a shoe repair, but luckily, obviously nothing, it wasn't out on the track, so something that can be fixed and the horse can be calmer with because shoe repairs on the track, I always feel like freak the horse out a little more than in a more comfortable setting that they've schooled in, like the outdoor paddock at Woodbine.
I'd rather be a behind shoe than a front shoe. If we have to be picky, like in a less than ideal situation, I'll take a hind repair than a front one.
One horse I want to ask you about, Dawn, is actually Kevin's other horse, Super Flashy. I didn't know if you got a chance to look at her and see how she's doing out there.
Yeah, I saw it. Well, she's behaving much better than her stablemate, that's for sure. And I just saw her left hind is off right now, so that's what we're dealing with. I don't even know. It's like they're not even. She's over there, the blacksmith's over there, so I don't know what's happening. Super Flashy, so Luis Contreras is going to ride her. She's okay. Like she's one of those that you take a look at her, and physically she's got the length. She looks like she's going to be, this kind of horse that appreciates a little bit more distance. She has tactical speed, so I like that about her. And she's very calm. She wears the blinkers, so I don't think that there's any secret in what her tactics would be today. I would suspect that she's going to be very forwardly placed because that's what she's done in her last couple of starts. And that's sprinting. So, you stretch out after that, and we'll see what happens. I'm just watching our paddock judge, Harold Fortune. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing right now because they're going riders up. And you can see, I don't know if you can really see that, but Moira still has no left hind shoe on, so I don't know if they've decided to run her without it. That might be a possibility, so that would be something really it's not ideal, I'm not going to lie. On the synthetic, to have a hind shoe off is really not ideal, so I'll keep you posted as to what's happening there. The rest of the fillies are behaving beautifully. Everyone's just going out nicely, and just the 5 McCool's Girl. She's one that catches my eye because she's got a motor behind her. She is really built like a greyhound, but she's got some strength to her hind end. So very lightly raced, very light in experience. I'm not sure if she can step up here today, but the 10 Pioneers Edge, Justin Stein had some nice comments about her, and she's just striking because she's a gray daughter of Pioneer of the Nile, so I was a sucker for that. 6 horse looks a little bit more sprint.
Oh, we might have lost Dawn there.
If Dawn doesn't come back, I have an interesting comment about the going out without a shoe. I don't know what the rule is in Canada. I know in New York, if a horse goes out without a shoe, it's running for purse money only. So it's very interesting that I don't know that it makes a difference. As I said, it certainly does make a difference, but if they're not getting that shoe on there, at least all our listeners know that, and they can act accordingly.
Anytime an athlete is missing a shoe, I just think of Richie Tenenbaum and the Royal Tenenbaums. Just he's taking off both of his shoes and one of his socks, and yes, I believe he's crying.
As we've got 11 minutes to post. Obviously, they're still outside, heading towards the chute to go into the track right now, and interesting. Obviously, we'll get an update from Dawn if she has one on. I don't want to assign shoe gate or something to this quite yet, but obviously, hearing Moira, the heavy favorite horse we kind of expect to be odds-on favorite in this race, potentially running without a key piece of equipment is interesting. And Dawn's back with us now. Dawn, we lost you there for a second when you were talking about McCool's girl. I don't know if you wanted to follow that up. Nope, we still do not have your mic, Dawn. I'm gonna have to cut it again, and we'll try to figure that out. But obviously, we've got some backtracks still to watch in this race. I know Sister Seagull was a horse a couple of you guys were hung on, so let's go ahead and take a look at Sister Seagull's maiden breaking score.
Curlin Candy's lead still 3/4 to Lady Brew. Sister Seagull's finishing from a fair way back, but these two have drawn well out in front. And over on the outside, Lady Brew trying to get by Curlin Candy. Sister Seagull's 4 behind, running on. Out in front, Curlin Candy, Lady Brew, and Sister Seagull is late on the outside. Could beat them all, and I think will. Oh yes, she's flown over the top of them, and Sister Seagull romping away to win by 2 or 3 lengths to Curlin Candy and Lady Brew.
Impressive closing kick there from Sister Seagull, and currently on the board is 7-1 from the 10-1 morning line. So bet down a little bit. In what I think, I personally think this is going to be a contentious pace. I know we talked a little bit about Loaded Vixen. Curlin Candy. I think Curlin Candy has one spot to go, and that's for the front in this spot. Does anybody else see Curlin Candy doing something differently in this race?
I pretty much agree right there. It seems like the one of a few horses that should be kind of motoring out for the lead.
I think she tries. I just think that the position of the 9 versus Loaded Vixen, if husband guns a little bit, I mean, I'm just looking at, and I don't look at that often, I'm looking at the projection, the Raceland's projection, and this has Loaded Vixen out by about 3.5, 4 lengths after a quarter mile. If that's true, it certainly puts Curlin Candy in a great stalking position, as some others do. And it might set it up for Sister Seagull, which I won't mind. But I think Loaded Vixen has a lone front running, has the front to herself, I should say, at the beginning of the race.
It still does not sound like we have Dawn's audio, so apologies there as Dawn tries to get that fixed for us. I think we obviously have a backtrack featuring both Moira and Pioneer's Edge that we have not seen as of yet, so I'll go ahead and roll that as well here.
Aubrey at a third. Moira starting to wind up around the outside menacingly. And as they corner 4 across the track, and here she comes, Moira, and she's raced to the front. Moira from Aubrietta, and over on the inside, battling away is Super Flashy, and then Pioneer's Edge out wider, but Moira's burst clear. Aubrietta makes a bit of a race of it. Now Pioneer's Edge coming on. Moira getting leg weary. Moira, Pioneer's Edge as they go to the wire. Moira from Pioneer's Edge.
Obviously, Moira even money, and obviously trying to see from that angle. Tough for me to tell on the shoe. Obviously, hopefully we get an update before we get going here. But I think really what we saw from that is how hard Justin had to work to get Pioneer's Edge really going late in that race.
Well,
so
I mean, when you're sort of stymied and you have to switch out, that's going to happen. Especially when she's got that long, she likes to flick those legs out. But once she hit stride, that was very impressive.
All right, we have your audio now, Dawn.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to talk fast so you don't lose it. No shoe on Moira. She actually, if you can see behind me, the EMTs are looking at our paddock blacksmith because she managed to hurt him in the process. So they've elected to go with no shoe on that left hind foot. And I believe we had a scratch too late, did we not? We had Roger's horse scratch out?
It doesn't look like it.
Okay, no, it must be in the next race then. Okay, I was trying to listen to two different things at one time. So yeah, anyway, so Moira will run without that shoe. It is not ideal. It is what it is.
Well, and I think this is a case of where you can really play against a very short price horse, right? Especially your point to the shoe being more important on synthetics can't be overstated, because they really need that give, like that traction behind. Where on conventional dirt you could get away without a shoe behind.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've never really seen anything run all that well without a hind shoe. So it's extremely, and plus her antics too. Her antics, and actually we'll get her in the winner's circle yet, right? Because good fillies can overcome a lot, but I think it's asking a lot of her. And there are some other talented ones today. So it might be at least back yourself up. You may not want to jump right off. We're not telling you to jump right off, but you might want to back up a bit.
Dawn, to get caught up on what you talked about, and you talked about antics, and you talked about a scratch, and you talked about Roger Atfield. Unfortunately, it's in the next race, and it's Lady Spitespear is a late scratch.
Okay. I knew I heard something. I heard, I heard somebody saying, Roger's filly scratch. I'm like, you didn't have one in here. So yeah, that
You're
is
breaking all the news today.
I know, and I don't want to because it's bad news. I want to just bring like good tidings from Woodbine. But yeah, that's unfortunate because I was looking forward to seeing her. She was a really nice addition to that race. So we'll have to wait. Obviously, sometimes it'll be they tie up before a race. They get loose coming over for the race, just whatever. So obviously Roger having to scratch her, so that's unfortunate. We've got a lot going on. I hope this race is exciting as the lead up has been up to it.
Well, thanks, Dawn. Great job as always. And if something exciting happens, we'll catch up with you after the race, which based on today is bound to happen.
Let's just hope clean, safe trip for all. That's what we want.
Amen.
All right, Dawn Lupul live from Woodbine. All right, we got 4 minutes to post here. Moira's still a favorite. I'm off of Moira. I was using Moira underneath. I've canceled some exactas and tries. I'm just going with Super Flashy at 21-1. I think that's great value for a horse that can close into this spot with the speed that we're talking about. So does everybody have anybody have opinions on wagers outside of their win choices that we kind of went over for everybody?
I'm going to take advantage of the 20-cent trifecta at Woodbine, which is one of my favorite wagers just in racing in general. I'm covered with Moira if she does fine without the shoe and the daily double. I'm going to use Sister Seagull, and then I'm also going to use Loaded Vixen on top and first. And then in second, I'm going to wheel in with them Salabaya, the Chad Brown horse. And then I'll go Sister Seagull, Loaded Vixen, Salabaya, and Pioneer's Edge in third.
Yeah.
I'm similar. I keyed the 4 and the 7, the 2 I like, Little Victor Seagull, and I went 3, 4, 6, 7, 9 second and third. I threw in the 9. It's a long shot. I don't like it as much as Dundrum, but Curlin Candy for a horse that's been third 3 in a row, second 3 in a row, second to Sister Signal, second to Pioneer's Edge. It's still a maiden, but 4 seconds so far in 6 career starts. I'd hate to see her just kind of game it out again. She does hang in there. She loses ground stretch, but she's there. So I'm using the 9 in second and third.
I do think it's interesting also that with Pioneer's Edge, they're going first time Lasix there out of the Celine. So I think that makes her all the more intriguing as a horse to use.
Jessica?
I'm kind of tossing Moira at this point. I'm going to go with the Chad Brown filly and also use, I kind of like Swoop to Finish a little bit. I am kind of a shameless Samson homer. Like
you don't have to feel like that. It's great. It's good to be a Samson homer.
Yeah. Like there's like worse things, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
I get seduced by going like 4 generations into their pedigree, and
Exactly.
it's a very fun rabbit hole to go down. But I think Swoop to finish off of what really was an okay maiden win. The synthetic's a question mark. Obviously, that one synthetic try wasn't that good, but off of that, why not? I always like a horse trying winters for the first time, even if the waters are a little deep.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what surface at Woodbine. American Pharaoh progeny just loves Woodbine as a whole.
They just run
Synthetic.
Dude,
Well, they do.
I
But
am surprised that Moira is 6-5 with that news about her shoe. I am. I mean, I could understand her still going off as favorite, but that
Well,
to
I
me
mean,
is,
in everybody's defense, we know the news. People at the track heard the news. There's no really scroll on it on the video. So unfortunately, it's one of those things where a lot of fans at various other outlets around the country may not know that.
So if you're not watching this, you are not in the know, people.
no,
Yeah, when you say they knew, we're they. We're
Yeah,
they
exactly,
in that
we knew.
situation.
But yeah, I'm still sticking with the Chad Brownsley on top as well. But
Yeah.
I am pretty. I after watching that backtrack, I do like the way that we saw Pioneer's Edge sort of roll after having to switch out on. And again, I'm going to give her an excuse for whatever happened to Celine, because again, every time I say again, if I had alcohol, it'd be a drinking game. I do think the addition of Lasix, it has to be with some sort of purpose behind it. So I would certainly not leave her out. And I'm just sorry I missed because I had to run upstairs and check on Ava. I'm sorry I missed the interview with Justin and Dawn.
yeah, we got to talk about he talked about Academic, who obviously won this race at 60-1 in 2015. So lots of excitement there for him, and he obviously rode the winner last year in Money for Row. So he's got some chances in this spot. All right, we're halfway loaded. 6-5 on Moira. The DRF did report on Twitterland about the hind shoes, and now we see race changes, no hind shoes on the 3. That's the first time I've seen it across the crawl, and unfortunately, it's about 45 seconds before the race starts.
That's peak horse racing right there.
Yeah.
All right, we will kick it up to Robert Geller for the call in the Woodbine Oaks.
The turnout comes up. Pioneer's Edge, the outside gate. Stand by for a start. In she goes, they're all in. Locked up. And away they race in Woodbine Oaks, and Salabia won the start in the center. Away nicely to the inside, Super Flashy. Going to the front is Loaded Vixen. And over on the inside, Swoop to finish. On the outer is Busy Malene, and splitting horses, McCool's Girl finding space to drive up towards the leaders. Early on is Moira back on the inside with Sister Seagull, and out wide of Pioneer's Edge, racing a bit rang as they turn, and tucking away last early after beginning a little tardily was Curling Candy. Racing in the lead is Loaded Vixen, pressed by Salabia. A length and a half to McCool's Girl, takes a nice drop in third. Off the rail, Swoop to finish, and Super Flashy comes up on the inside. They're a length and a half to Moira, and then came Busy Malene. Curling Candy scrapes paint on the inside. And towards the back in the early stages, Pioneer's Edge at last is Sister Seagull. Racing along out in front by a neck is Loaded Vixen from Salabia. With the drop, McCool's Girl, 2 lengths away third. 3.5 to Swoop to finish. Super Flashy, Moira traveling up in the center. On the outside, Busy Malene and Curling Candy on the inside. And in the back, Sister Seagull. And last is Pioneer's Edge. There has been no shift to position. Loaded Vixen in front. In second, Salabia as they relax the tempo. A couple to McCool's Girl urge to have a crack at them. And here comes Moira. And she is starting to really pick runners off and is going early. And Moira's run past McCool's Girl as Salabia takes the lead. And in turn, Moira pouncing for the lead and trying to run home on the outside. Swoop to finish. In the center, Curling Candy's finishing off. And Moira's burst away as they turn in the Woodbine Oaks from Salabia. And they've raced 4 in front. And Moira has dashed out by 4 lengths. Salabia in second. And the rest are forlorn. They're so far back. And this is a procession in no uncertain terms. Moira has completely turned this into a one-act affair. And this year's Woodbine Oaks is absolutely at the mercy of only one horse, a fantastic winner. Moira, does she put her name into the Queen's Plate bid by that win? She won by 12 lengths. Sister Seagull second, Super Flashy third, then Salabia, followed by Pioneer's Edge, Swoop to finish, Busy Malene, McCool's Girl.
Well, who needs hind shoes, apparently?
No shoes, no problem.
How about
Oh my
wow? Just that move on the
Yeah.
turn.
Was the
Yeah.
shoe replaced with the jetpack? My
Yeah,
lord.
right? Don't we all look silly for tossing her? But
No,
I guess,
we look like we tried to make a stand, like to find a logical way to take a stand against an even money favorite. Absolutely.
no,
I'll die on that.
obviously, but
I'll die on
gosh,
that.
but that was so impressive for her to just like Ellis said, come and make that move and then just open up.
Yeah.
I will say, based on this, I would think the 6. She had there's no excuse there. I would say that for her, even though she's got pedigree, that it could be argued that she could go longer. I don't just know that was so much the synthetic. I think she just went shorter. I don't know. That was just so impressive. That's all I can say. And so she can do that, being slightly unbalanced with only one shoe. I don't know if they ended up pulling off the other shoe on her hind.
I mean, they said no hind shoes, like plural. So I assume that.
Okay. So both were off.
That they did. But I would have liked to know. I definitely would have been curious if they did.
Yeah. So
Well, shoeless Moira Jackson was extremely impressive. I think going forward, you have to really take Sister Siegel's trip in this one into account. That's a great bet back for next out, and I'm just happy with my daily double paying 23 for an even money favorite in the last.
That was a great pick.
No consolation to Chase, but Sister Siegel won the race if Moira wasn't in the race.
Yeah. If you just toss that one, we're good. We won.
She closed from almost last, and she actually, I don't think he even actually used the stick. I think she just closed on her own courage and just passed everybody late, except for the horse that was in front by 10 or 12 at that point.
And I was trying to figure out, super flashy, my horse looked done at the turn and re-rallied and almost caught up for third, passing a whole bunch of tired horses. So 3-7-6-2, your order of finish. I'm going to sound like the biggest hypocrite in the world, but going into this weekend before the shoe drama, Moira was actually my Queen's Play horse, and this makes that look like a reality once again. Anybody?
Sure, you liked it. No, I'm joking. I believe you.
Any thoughts on? Obviously, we questioned the distance, and 9 furlongs was no problem today.
Yeah, no problem. And being daughter of Ghost Zapper, 10's not going to be a problem.
No problem at all. She has stamina to spare.
Yeah, for sure. No.
Anybody know how many Ghost Zappers have won the plate? A couple, I think, right?
Yeah, quite. I think several.
Yeah. And the unbridled, and she's having an unbridled song mare, so there's 10 furlongs on the bottom too.
Mm-hmm. No, she could not have won that much easier.
No.
That should be the headline. Whoever when they write the story tomorrow, should be no shoes, no problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like also to everyone to note the date and time that I've faded a Chad Brown, have not paid horribly financially because of it. This race, first time ever, it feels like.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm actually surprised she hung for the Shoto in there, because she did look. If you were watching her there in stretch, she was swishing her tail. She was tired.
Yeah, I thought so too. She was pretty cooked.
Yeah.
And everybody out there, I'm sorry I gave out Loaded Vixen at all. She didn't make the lead, but that was about it.
Well, I mean, you thought she may go up her completely lone speed, and
Right.
I was hoping that they were actually going to take back a little bit with the Chad Brown filly, because she had rated before, and so going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's one thing to get the lead on your own, going through easier, clipping off those quarters than it is with another horse rider.
Yeah, plus Salabia pressed her 23, 54, 47, 34. It's a little bit fast for 9 furlongs.
Yeah.
Well, as we see Rafi Hernandez and Kevin Attard in connections with Moira, obviously just a very, very exciting situation. And in this same scenario last year, Kevin sent Money for Roe into the Queen's Plate. So obviously we're anticipating that's the next step. But obviously the antics of today, something that we'll have to keep in mind as this horse moves forward.
Yeah, it's being saddled outside, the whole thing with the shoe. I mean, that's a lot of drama to then run so professionally after that.
She's clearly worth the hassle.
Exactly.
You know, I'm sure she's a nightmare like day in and day out if this is how she acts. Like,
well, wait, didn't you guys all have an inside joke with like P.I.L.O. about antics? Wasn't there something on social media about
And there you go. The antics is like Pete's call that's forever memorialized because it's in the Bad Beats Open on Scott Van Pelt's Sports Center.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know the reference.
Of course, I had bet that day, and also it cost somebody like a lone pick 6 rainbow because the horse was all alone in front and then just hit the inner rail and tried to jump the inner rail and was like, it was like 3 panel. Oh, no, it was like, it was past the 16th pole. It was right before the wire. So
Right.
if horses can find a way, I mean, they will. They just find a way to cause mayhem at any opportunity.
The one thing I've learned today is I am still, again, snake bit at Woodbine. So don't play my picks until they start to heat up again because, my gosh, I feel like I can't hit the side of a barn.
well, I mean, obviously in horse racing, you've got to have a better attitude towards barns going forward. That would be my advice, Ren.
I will say I had a horse 13-1 first time out, run third yesterday. So it was not embarrassing. But I mean, I being a perfectionist, I like to be right. And so it's just hard when you're still just trying to hit something. Ooh, what happened?
Oh, yeah.
More antics?
Decided that Rafi was done and kind of boosted Rafi off at the end there.
Absolutely good for her. You know what?
If a horse named Moira who's saying no more pictures seems to make perfect sense and is a perfect wrap to this show.
She backed into the hedge pretty nicely there. And luckily, Rafi jumped. He almost did the Tory getting off safely, which was good.
An unintentional Dettori there.
Unintentional, yeah. By the way, just for those that are following me on Twitter at UberCapper, I did do 2 stakes for the card today, and I tweeted it out. The Dance Smartly, unfortunately, with Lady Spadesper out, becomes kind of less of a race, but I do have the selections for that race, and kind of chalky, unfortunately. Fev Rover Seasons and Wakanaka Seasons is the only horse that might be a price coming up in the one. We got one more big race today on the card.
Wakanaka is my favorite horse name to say. Wakanaka.
I want to say Waka Waka. I don't know why. I can't say Wakanaka. Waka Waka.
Waka Waka. Was that Fozzie Bear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Fozzie Bear, and that shows that we've officially gone off the rails. So I want to thank everybody for joining us on Woodbine Live, the Path to the Plate. Next time we talk to you, we will be in Toronto for the Queen's Plate here on America's Best Racing. We want to thank everybody at Woodbine. We want to thank Dawn Lupul, Jessica, Ellis, Ren, Chase. Follow them all on Twitter. All of their handles are on the screen. You can follow my handle if you want to or not. That's completely optional based on my wonderful handicapping the rest of the day, which you can recap the rest of the Woodbine card earlier today and how I felt about it if you check out my Twitter. But thanks to everybody for joining us, and have a great rest of your Sunday. Again, another graded stakes coming up next in Dance Smartly at Woodbine, but we are headed out. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye all.
Bye.